Today we're going to look at Chapter 4, Section 5, Solving Two-Step Equations. Okay, we've already learned to solve one-step equations using addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division. Today we're going to look at solving two-step equations and relating those to real-world problems. A two-step equation is just what it sounds like. It's an equation, solving an equation through the process of using two steps. Okay, here's our first one. Let's solve 2m plus 8 equals 32 and check your solution. Now notice that your variable is in this term. You have a second term on the left side of the equal sign with the term with the variable. You have a constant. And then you have a constant term on the right side of that equal sign. Okay, they call this the vertical method. You start by writing the equation. And the first thing we're going to do then is we're going to get this term that has the variable with it isolated on the left side of the equal sign all by itself. What that means is you have to get rid of this positive 8. So we're going to use the inverse operation. And remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And we end up with 2m equals 24. And then that becomes just like we did before. We're going to divide both sides by 2 and end up with m equals 12. And then you have the horizontal method. Start by writing the equation down. Okay, instead of writing minus 8 underneath, you write it beside it on the same line. And you end up at the exact same spot, 2m equals 24. And then, of course, dividing by this 2 to cancel that 2 out, and you get m is 12. Personally, I prefer the vertical method. I like to see it written vertically rather than horizontally. Okay, this one is all you. If you'll push the pause button, give yourself a minute to work through the problem, and then you can click back and begin this up again once you have answered the question. You should have selected C. First, you would have subtracted 4 from both sides and got 5b equals 75, and then divided both sides by 5. Okay, this time we're going to work a two-step equation, except for notice that we're dividing here. So let's see how this works. You begin by writing the equation down. Okay, you're going to subtract 6 from both sides because you want to isolate this term with the w in it. Okay, you end up with w divided by 4 equals 3. Now, to get the w by itself, because it is being divided by 4, we've got to do the inverse operation of dividing by 4, which would be multiplying both sides by 4. And then you end up with w equals 12. Remember, this gives you 1 as the coefficient on that w. And now it's your turn. You're going to do the same process. Just hit the pause button right now, please, and come back when you've got your answer. Okay, and you should have selected B. First thing you would have done, because there are two terms on this side of the equal sign, you want to get the term with the variable all by itself, so you would have done the inverse operation of adding 2, which would have been subtracting 2. And then the inverse operation of dividing by 6 is multiplying by 6. Okay, now let's see what happens this time, because we have a -1 as the coefficient on x here. Okay, so we write the equation down. And notice they put that phantom 1 in there, so you don't forget that that's a -1. And this time they rewrote it so that it says plus the -1x. Okay, since this is a +5, once again you have two terms on the left side of this equal sign. You want to get that term that has the variable with it all by itself. This was a +5, so we're going to subtract 5, okay? inverse operations there. Negative 5 plus 5, that will zero out. Remember, what you do to the left side of the equal sign, you also have to do to the right side. So we end up with negative 1x equals 2. Now we want a positive coefficient here. So you have to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative divided by negative gives you that positive 1x equals, and of course over here on this right side, a negative 2. And now it is time for you to demonstrate what you've learned. Hit the pause button and return back when you have this problem solved. All right, you should have chose answer D. First thing you need to do is we're going to isolate this negative 1m. Remember, the phantom 1 is here. So I'm going to do the inverse operation of this. This was a minus 4 or a negative 4. The opposite of that is adding 4. It would have had 13 equals negative 1m divided both sides by negative 1 gives you that negative 13. Okay, now they're starting to get tricky. What you have to do now is you have to combine like terms before you can solve. So I'm looking here, I've got b minus 3b plus 8 equals 18. This time I have 3 terms on this left side of the equal sign. Well, this is a positive 1b, this is a negative 3b, so those are like terms, and I can combine them. Positive 1 minus 3. There it is, positive 1 minus 3b gives me that negative 2b plus 8 equals 18. Now this becomes like those previous examples of this section. I've got 2 terms. I've got 2 terms on this side of the equal sign. I want to get this negative 2b all by itself, so I've got to get rid of this positive 8. So positive 8, opposite inverse operation of that is negative 8 to both sides, remember. So I get negative 2b equals 10. Dividing both sides by negative 2, this will give me that positive 1 coefficient on b. And so 1b equals negative 5. And that's your solution. And now it's your turn. Hit pause and return when you have your answer. You should have selected D. Notice this is a negative 1x plus 5x, so combining the like terms here would have given me 13 plus 4x. 9 equals 13 plus 4x. Since it's a positive 13, I would have subtracted 13 from both sides. Then I would have divided by 4 and got my answer. Okay, Marissa wants to go to summer camp. The camp will cost $229. She paid a deposit of $75. She will need to save $14 per week to pay for the trip. The equation 75 plus 14w equals 229 can be used to find how many weeks Marissa will need to save. Which series of steps can be used to solve the equation? Okay, think about what you would do first here. You've got 2 terms on this side of the equation. You want to get the term with the variable all by itself. So you've got to get rid of the 75 first. Okay, they're getting rid of the 75 first. Now we're going to divide both sides by 14. And we get W is 11. So to solve the equation, you first subtracted 75, then divided by 14, and the correct answer was C. And you can go through and read this. And now it's your turn. Adrian is saving to buy a new MP3 player that cost $125. She has a summer job where she earns $6 per hour. She already has $17. The equation 17 plus 6h equals 125 can be used to find how many players Marissa will need, or how many hours Marissa will need to work to pay for her player. Which series of steps can be used to solve the equation? Hit pause, read through the problem again, and then come back when you've selected your answer. You should have selected C. First thing you were going to do was subtract 17 from both sides. then you would have divided by 6. And that concludes this section of the lesson. Please return to my big campus to see what else I have in store for you.